4 people were discovered in a South End home. All the victims were reportedly shot to death. CTV's Chris Day is at the scene with the latest.
An unusual scene for a normally quiet street where inside this home a gruesome family tragedy had played out.
It is an obvious homicide.
When officers forced their way into 175 Grand Park Circle at around 9:15 this morning, they quickly found the lifeless bodies of 2 women and a man. Some 4 hours later, a 4th body, that of another female, was found in an upstairs bedroom.
A quick search of the house was done initially to make sure there was nobody injured and nobody was found. But at a closer inspection of the house, she was located.
Police believe the Brar family patriarch fatally shot his wife and 2 daughters before killing himself. Family members in India had expressed to police concern for the women's safety after a reported argument between husband and wife earlier this week.
As I understand, the nature of the call was, can you please check on my relative? I haven't heard from her.
For neighbors who say family members largely kept to themselves, shock.
Just completely shocked. I'm still shaky in my legs, and just to see what's going on so close to home. And just, I don't know, I can't believe it, I guess.
It's pretty shocking. I mean, you hear stories about this, you know, and you never think it's going to happen, and you never think it's happening in your neighborhood, right?
Members of Ottawa's sizable Sikh community say the family was unknown to them, too. This man shares their last name, but says he was not related to the victims.
I don't think so he have any problem with anybody, because if he have a problem, he must be involved in this community, and nobody knows him from 5 years.
Police have so far not said if they've been to this house before today. They'll spend the next couple of days combing every inch of the residence, trying to understand exactly what happened here.
An ambitious Conservative plan has been unveiled for Canada's north. The Tories want to create a 10 million hectare national park and wildlife sanctuary, an area twice as large as the province of Nova Scotia. The national park would be created on lands surrounding the eastern arm of Great Slave Lake in the Northwest Territories. Several million hectares of adjacent land will be designated as a conservation area managed by Native groups. The Tories are also hoping to set up a national wildlife area spanning some 15,000 square kilometers around the Arctic Circle. In total, the protected areas will be among the largest in Canadian history and until now had been eyed by the resource sector because of possible oil, gas, and uranium deposits. A new report on Afghanistan claims the Taliban are stronger than ever and that next year could be a crucial turning point in the country's future. The problem, according to the report, is NATO's failure to commit more troops. Without enough soldiers to establish security, the country could quickly slip into chaos. CTV's Roger Smith has more.
It's a dire prediction that unless NATO expands its war effort, the Taliban will retake Afghanistan as early as next year.
Possible the Taliban will come back to power in 2008.
In its latest report, the Senless Council, which usually focuses on aid and development, has turned hawkish. It says NATO should double its force to 80,000, though Canada would only be asked to send an extra 200. And it says NATO should join the attack on Taliban bases inside Pakistan. Noting that Pakistan's embattled president can't or won't do it, Senless says NATO help is the best way to cut off Taliban reinforcements.
NATO troops should go to the border areas, to the frontiers of Pakistan, to strike those training camps.
As for extra troops, Senless, like NATO itself, wants European countries to do more. The Germans, for example, train police, but are forbidden by their government from doing battle.
Those caveats should be removed, and they should be playing a role in fighting the conflict in southern provinces of Afghanistan.
This military analyst agrees with the problems laid out in the report, but rejects the proposed solutions.
By calling for thousands of more troops and expanding the war into other countries like Pakistan, it's just pouring gasoline on the fire.
We, of course, don't favor an expansion of the war in Afghanistan. We don't share the analysis that's been offered by this particular group.
As for Canada, Senless says the military should take over aid and development work because it's so dangerous, and it wants Canadian troops to stay beyond the scheduled end of their combat mission in 2009. Roger Smith, CTV News, Ottawa.
The most significant Mideast peace talks since the days of the Clinton administration are to take place next Tuesday in Annapolis, Maryland. The U.S. hopes to launch formal negotiations to create a Palestinian state. SamerShehata is an assistant professor of Arab politics at Georgetown University, and he joins me tonight from Ottawa. Professor, realistically, what can be achieved at this meeting? Washington, excuse me.
Well, I think realistically, the most that can be achieved is just a resumption of the peace talks. That is a kind of ongoing process that is likely to last some time, that potentially could lead to the establishment of a viable Palestinian state alongside a secure Israel recognized by its neighbors. That's certainly not going to happen in a few days after the Annapolis talk. But that's what is potentially possible in terms of the most possible as a result of the resumption of these talks.
And so give us a broader perspective. Why now?
Well, that's a very good question. I mean, the Bush administration has not shown an interest in the Palestinian-Israeli conflict from the very beginning of Bush's first presidential term. In fact, he attempted to differentiate himself from President Clinton, who was very much involved. I think there is a feeling now that the Israelis and the Palestinians, of course, believe this is their last chance under this presidency to forge forward. Also, I think, and this is very important, President Bush wants to support Mahmoud Abbas and Fatah as opposed to what is considered the more radical forces of Hamas, for example. And this conference will certainly support Abbas, or is an attempt to do so. So I think those are some of the reasons, in addition to the usual public relations reasons. That is, the administration wants to be seen as being concerned with this. The Israelis, of course, Olmert and Abbas, also want to be seen as trying to do something. So there are those concerns as well.
And why is the participation of Saudi Arabia and Syria so important to these talks?
Well, both countries' participation are important for different reasons. Saudi Arabia, of course, and Syria don't recognize Israel. So if the Saudis were to attend, which it looks like they're going to attend, and be present alongside Israeli negotiators and representatives, in addition, of course, to representatives from other countries, that in itself could be seen as being progress. The reason that Syria's participation is crucial is because, of course, Israel occupies the Golan Heights from 1967 as a result of that war. And no comprehensive peace in the Middle East is possible without some resolution to that, that is giving back the Golan Heights to Syria. In addition to the fact that Syria, of course, supports Hezbollah in Lebanon and also supports Hamas. And these are also crucial issues in any kind of a wider Middle East peace.
Can I ask you one other quick question?
Of course.
Tony Blair, he was supposed to be in this position as envoy. We haven't heard very much news about his role. Will he, do you think, be participating at all?
Well, Tony Blair has been in the region and has tried to make contact between different people. I think we will be hearing about him a little bit, but I think one thing that's frequently not stated in the United States and Canada about Tony Blair is, in the Arab world, Tony Blair is seen as one of the authors of the Iraq War, and he's not viewed very well. And there was a lot of skepticism about him being a Middle East peace envoy. So I think that's one of the reasons why the reception to Tony Blair in the Arab world has been cold up until the present.
Thank you for that update. SamerShehata, thanks for talking to us tonight. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Just ahead, does your baby know the difference between right and wrong? Turns out we are all built, or all born, with a built-in moral compass. Find out if it naturally points to naughty or nice when CTV Newsnet returns. We'll be right back.
This portion of Newsnet brought to you by the new Dodge Caravan. Grab life.